All right, you legends, I've been standing at this light. It didn't change for me. So as soon as these guys go, I'm sneaking across. We have this intersection usually doesn't do that. But I sat through the cycle. So I'm gonna come like a pedestrian and just try to get across and wait for this guy. So that's what you have to do if the light doesn't work. You treat it like a stop sign, because sometimes it doesn't pick up the bikes. The sensors are not sensitive enough. So I'm heading to yet another group ride. Feel great this morning. I got to ride with a group called Romeo on Thursday. Had a good workout. And then Friday I was off, just busy running around. Paul and I were doing stuff together. So we have new software, and by now, if everything worked out, you're seeing the new telemetry, which I think is really, really cool. It takes our filming to yet another level, or another level yet. So we'll get some clips for you, and I hope you get a chance to get out and get some K's in your legs. Keep those doctors at bay.
On this ride, I left Northampton, rolled into the woodlands, picked up the group at the Alden Village Center. We headed down Research Forest Boulevard to Honea-Egypt Community Road through Grand Lake Estates, lots of action, all the way to the Hills Parkway into Keenan. We took 149, but when we got to Spring Branch Road, the group split up. We regrouped after we went through 1097, Bailey Grove, 149. The wind really was heavy. We picked up the group again at Taco Corner, headed back. There was another split again, and we came through Leah Drive to Honea, and then we took Fishcreek all the way back into the woodland. The wind had just picked up by the time we got to this section of the road, so it felt like we were doing a long mountain climb back into the woodlands. It was a very pleasant day for a bike ride. I think you would love the clips we put together for you.
The light start blinking. It's filming now.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
That's it. So when you turn it off, it will beep once to go off from recording.
Yeah.
And then you just need to hold the side button to turn it off.
Okay.
If you don't, no big deal, because after a few minutes, it will go off.
All right.
We're leaving the
Don't worry
Alden
about
Village
that.
Center.
This way we got a GPS signal before we turned it on. Makes my job easier.
Yeah.
And even if we ever do it with the auto capture, no big deal, because it's got maps. I can still sing it. Don't worry about it. Yeah, it's just
Paul and I
nice
are discussing the requirements of the new telemetry that you see.
Hey guys, watch out for the sheriff. Is sitting in a jeep up there.
Yeah, they've been targeting us because we got a bad reputation as cyclists in the woodlands. Everybody's complaining about us. They don't complain about the drivers that run all the stop signs. Yeah, don't mind. Complain about bicycle drivers. Those cars will kill people. Bicycle killing, oh, brother, thank you for your
Yeah, we
Oh, no problem, man.
we were being targeted by the officers in the woodlands because a lot of recreational and probably some serious cyclists. They just go through intersections as if to say the rules don't apply to them. So it's become an issue because a lot of the residents have complained, and so the officers are watching to make sure people obey the rules of the road. I don't have a problem with it. I mean, they're not enforcing whether you put your foot down or not, but they don't want you blasting through at 32K, 20 miles an hour. You know, you got to at least be prepared to stop. I see a lot of cyclists doing the wrong thing, and especially recreational riders. I don't think they're even aware that they're supposed to follow the rules.
How are you, man?
I'm very good.
Beautiful morning.
Good, man.
I got a good training weekend, so feeling good. But my goal this ride is to continue to work on my endurance.
Really good.
The software you see will display my watts. The biggest thing to be aware of is that it's also showing the zones. Those are the power zones based on wattages. And that applies to pretty much everyone because they're power zones, and they'll let you, if you're doing a certain power, theoretically, it'll tell you whether it's tempo, VO2, whatever. Throughout the ride, even though your heart rate, like mine is at 121,
Mr.
that's where it is
Perez.
now. If I stand up and do a sprint and I hit 500 watts,
Yes, sir.
that's an anaerobic effort.
I heard.
And so if you're training with power, you got to be aware of that.
Yes, sir.
So we're on Research Forest Boulevard. We're heading out. If you look at the overlay, you will see that I have a map on the left from a higher level that gives you the regional area we're in the woodlands heading out. That's the route. And on the right is a more detailed street level of the same position on that GPS map. So you can actually see the street names to the right of my shoulder there, the right corner. So now you can see where we're riding, what street we're on, and I thought that's neat. So
We've been there,
as we
man.
go, now you can see in the middle, I have a profile. That is the route profile. It lets you know where our elevation is going up. So the elevation is higher at this point.
It looks like a
you can see we're leaving pretty much sea level. We're already higher than Houston. And as the ride goes on, you can see how much the profile changes. That's why we like to go north. It's not only is it scenic and quiet, it is more challenging than the southwestern part of
Those guys
the
supposed to be
area.
riding with us. They're way up there. Where did they go?
So the title of this video is How to Grow a Cycling Group. You heard Paul just say those guys supposed to be riding with us. Why they way up there? I'm gonna mess with them in a little bit. You'll see I'm just having my fun. I will get up there and sprint like I'm going for the finish line and put my arms up. But what I want to focus on this narration is that we've had a problem in our area keeping our cycling groups alive. There have been groups here that for years they were fine, and then all of a sudden people just stopped coming. So they end up sending texts to a few riders and they hook up. Right there, I'm just messing with Michael because he likes to take off.
I did hurt Mo.
So, but what happened? What I'm saying is, our groups are not.
I heard him, man.
I wouldn't say they're not staying together. You know, we're not encouraging new faces to show up because we keep riding away from everybody. If you continue to do that, why should anybody keep coming out? Because the whole point of inviting someone to come ride with you, so you can ride with them.
I was pretty damn tired.
You know, so even if the group is going fast, you should regroup. You will see me ask for a regroup later on in the ride. A few people adhered, a few people did not. And that's fine. I don't try to restrain anyone, but my goal when I come on these rides is to get new faces to come and join us. I don't want to ride with the same 5 people all year after year. Because then when 2 of them don't show up, we only got 3. And today we only have like 6 or 7 people. And so as we continue to ride, we'll pick up more people here.
I almost got one of you. Oh, man.
So if you're riding and you have a group and you invite people to join you,
Whoa,
unless it's an open ride where people just show up and take off, that's fine. But this ride, we actually have a board where people join the chat discussion and we put out a route. So when people come, I'm trying to get the new faces to continue to come because the more people that are coming, it's better for the sport than only the 5 to 7 or 10 people that you ride with all the time.
Yeah.
That's what kills these groups.
Yes.
Because if you just ride away from someone that you invited to come join you, then why should they come back next week if they rode alone anyway? And the funny thing about it is, well, not funny, the confirmation of it is one of the riders that was struggling told me point blank, I'm not going to name him, Paul knows who he is, told me point blank, had I not hung back with him, he would have hated riding alone and he probably wouldn't have wanted to come back to this ride. And people may not say that to you, but that's what ends up happening. You know, we have a group, the Woodland Cycling Club had a big ride that used to leave from the Ashland YMCA, and Mo told me one day he would go there and people just weren't showing up. So now they're doing something different. And it happens, you know, things come and go. But so my goal for this group is to grow it. Now, that's my goal. That's not the goal of everybody else here. And you know, I don't need to enforce or force people to do what I want to do. So my goal is I will keep my eyes and ears on our weakest or newest visiting riders. If they hang with the fast boys, that's good. But if they're falling off the back, I will at least make sure they're okay. If they say go ahead, because everybody's got the route. I take the time to build a route weekly, so everybody can download it to their Garmin if they choose to, so they know how to get to the stop points. And it's important for you to run your group like that if you want it to survive. I want new people to be comfortable coming to these rides knowing that regardless of your level, you will at least have some company for a bit. Even if you just warm up with us, you have the route, we'll see you at the store or something. You know, so that way they keep coming back. That's Tim. He's met us on the road. He's on the right there. He's going to join the group. We picked up a couple of riders while we're on the road. So remember that. Don't just go be blasting up from your group ride. You want to show off your fitness? Go to a USCF race. Show it off there. But come to your group ride if you care about your group, and make sure that you talk to the people whose faces are not familiar. Don't just always stick with your little clique. Make others feel welcome that you are not familiar with if you're a regular. You guys know what guys and girls know what I'm talking about. We don't want this elitist attitude to just kill this sport. This week, I rode with the Romeo group. They do Tuesdays and Thursdays rides. There are some retirees are there. And there was a lady named Lou. She's on the channel. She left a message that she was coming here from England. And we got a chance to hook up, and she came and rode with us. Now imagine, she could have ridden anywhere in the world, but she chose the woodlands. I love that phrase. I got that from an album, McClurkin. I think he's a preacher. Donnie, I think it was Donnie McClurkin. Anyway, he's a singer, and he's recording in England. And the lady says he could have recorded anywhere in the world, but he chose London. And I love that sound to it. But basically, we got to hook up with her. It was nice, you know. She's a good rider and very safe, and so we had fun on Thursday. You know. So let's get to these the telemetry that we have on here. I really like the maps because I get a lot of people asking where do you guys ride, and you guys have seen it's still in the video that you'll see the intersections as we go through. I post some of the names, but with that map on the right, you can see the streets, and the map on the left, you can see the region. So the route is all there, and you can tell where we're starting from and where we're going. And I particularly like the profile that I put in the middle. It's in meters, of course. You can convert it, you know, kilometers, and then you've got the distance of the route, 0 kilometers to 132. That's basically how long I rode. That's because I get a lot of questions, how long was the ride? Some people don't watch the route video that kind of starts. So if you don't see that at any point in the video, you can see the total distance that was covered by myself on that ride. So that will answer some of those questions. So this software just fit a lot of the things that just made sense. And that's why I was testing. I tested it for a week.
That's okay.
That's a gentleman over there named Tim. He mixed us up. He said hi, Eldred, and Paul said, no, I'm Paul. That's Eldred up there. I never got a chance to meet him until later in the ride. We ended up rolling together after the group split. So we had a nice conversation. So it's kind of neat, you know.
Were you out of town, or did you just...
So the clock has seconds and milliseconds. I left it there for accuracy, the dates there. It just had everything. I particularly really like the zones. So as we're riding, you see how it's getting shaded on the left and it's staying there. So 275 to 374, I haven't spent much time there. So you can see it's like just a single line. I haven't done any 500 watts efforts, so it's blank. That way, throughout the ride, you guys can tell what zones are really being used, how hard this ride is. And you know, so it's kind of good to see because power jumps all over the place. So even though you see 50 watts per second. If I stand up, now you see 2 something on the right there. So I put the regular watts on the right, and those are just the zones that over the course of the ride, how much time is being spent in each area. So my goal today was to stay in the 238 to 274 or less. And I think that is somewhat, my endurance zone is about probably 250-ish, 200 to 250, something like that. That's where I like to stay. So that's probably 238 to 274 would be a good way to stay aerobic. And once the colors start changing where you're getting orange and then I think it's red on the end, you're going more anaerobic. And then it actually puts the text on there that says endurance and so forth. You know, a little bit, there's a bunch of deer hanging out in somebody's yard here. And they probably have feeders for them in there. And so I put my arm out to let people know to keep their eye on the deer because they're very skittish. We don't want them running across the road in our direction. But they just kind of looked at us. They're looking at us like, where are you guys going? They're looking at us like we don't belong. Look at them. I froze it. Look at them looking at us like we borrowed money from them and didn't pay them back.
Look at one.
That's the guy, Mike Barreras. He loves the deer out here. He loves to see that. So I'm sure he had a blast with that. They just hang out in that yard. I think there must be something that they like to eat. Some people put food out for them. The deer feeders out. We're having very pleasant weather. Spring has come in nicely. We're getting our gradual warm up. It'll be like 15, 18 Celsius in the morning, and then before you know it, we start in the low 60s, upper 50s, and then Fahrenheit, and then get to about 80, 85. I'll take that because by June or late May, it's going to be a steam bath out here. So this is when I'm going to be riding longer, not my third week back. So I'm going to be doing some longer. So today my goal was to do the whole route, but not go hard the whole route. So when we got in the neighborhood, they were pushing on successive climbs. On the last climb, I kind of backed off the pace and just kind of kept my effort low. So you've got to know how to sustain what you're doing because not everybody that goes hard early in the ride continues that all the way through the whole day. You know, they end up either struggling or taking a shorter way back home. I wanted to finish the route and finish it well. I have my alloy zip 101s from back in the day. I put them on. I like the look. They look very retro. I took off the decals, of course. So if you don't know what they are, they don't tell you. There's a small little 101 somewhere on the wheel, but you got to be up there looking for it to see it when it's stopped. You know, a little bit Paul would say, oh, he already feel like using the restroom and we just started.
Already feel like going pee.
Right here.
We just started.
Yeah. I always sneak into a little park area somewhere private because it's cool. It was cool when we started.
Yeah.
And Laura has her arms covered not because of the temperature, I think it's because of the sun. Laura is sensitive to the sun. So she covers herself. I'm checking for cars. You see how the watts go up when you stand? You expend a lot of energy getting that gear rolling. It's more efficient to be steady and jumping around. To do that in bike races so they can wear you down if you have not trained appropriately. So if you do that in your group ride, you will wear somebody down who is not as strong, and they end up just letting you go in and ride alone. So if that's your goal for your group, then you do that. But if you want to grow the group, you got to at least make sure that person has some company, or you at least check on them periodically by periodically regrouping. A lot of these groups like ours, they do that. But when you call for regrouping, not everybody regroups. So you'll see it develop. We're on the Honea-Egypt Community Road in Montgomery, Texas. Magnolia is a little west of here, about 6 or 7 miles, about 10 kilometers west. Honea-Egypt Community Road, got a driver back there, very patient. I like how this group is not very big today. We got about probably, I'm guessing 10 riders, which is, that's a good size. But you notice as soon as we got on this road, we got to the business of riding. And that's the way it should be. This road is not for chatting. And it was nice to just see this. I don't know if it's Peter at the front. I know Michael is up there. Laura is in front of me. But we're riding here. And so when you're working, the drivers don't mind. I mean, you're doing your best. You're putting out a good effort. But if you're sitting there looking at the trees and the birds and you're blocking everybody, I don't think that's cool. If you're out sightseeing and you sometimes get off the road, let them go by, and then you can sightsee. You know what I mean? But when you're riding, yeah, they appreciate that. They see that you're riding, yeah, they'll be patient. I mean, 99.99% of them. We had one guy on Thursday. We had a mishap. Somebody dropped a bottle. We stopped to get the bottle. A road similar to this, but a little choppy with a lot of potholes. And so we hit a pothole and the bottle fell. And this guy comes by in a truck cursing at us. Of course, we just ignored him. That you have to do that. Since he has a limited vocabulary, what are you going to tell him? So we completely ignored him. And so he was probably wondering, did they hear me or not? And let him go around wondering. Think about it. What kind of response did he think he would get? If you curse at somebody, do you think you're going to get a positive response? No. That means he has no self-respect. So let him find somebody at his level. We focused on just making sure that we secured the bottle and got back and got to the business of finishing the ride. Then let it bother us. We're moving here. 40 kilometers an hour is about 25. Right now it's 26 miles an hour. It's slightly downhill. It's a favorable spot in a little bit. Michael Barreras, I don't know if he's already done it. He would come by in a big gear and lift the pace. We don't chase him on purpose. We just keep riding. I know. Right here. He's on his TT bars. It's an integrated clip-on his road bike. And he's pushing a big gear. I mean, you can see his whole body rocking to get that thing rolling. So he's got his own thing. He was doing something similar on the Thursday ride. I think he's just getting a workout, I guess, But don't feel like you got to chase everybody that does stuff like that. Just keep your group together. Right here, you hear me say it's cool here. Right here, the temperature dropped appreciably on this descent. And I said, wow, it is cool here. And Laura heard me. And I don't know what Michael heard, but I think she explained to him. You could feel a decrease in the temperature, which is nice. And I think it's Michael pulling. Yeah, and we're doing about 43 to 45K. This is fast. I'm doing my best to stay in the draft, but right here I move over. I'm more worried about my wheels than the draft, and I get back into Laura's slipstream. I'm fairly low. Laura is very aero, similar to Mo. Now my heart rate is going up. It's 146 beats per minute, 147 is creeping up because the effort has picked up. And now you can see the power is telling you tempo, threshold, or it's active recovery. That's why you can't look at power too much, and that's why on our head units, we average it. I think I have mine set to like 3-second average or something like that. And you just glance periodically because it's all over the place. You soft pedal, it drops to 50 watts or whatever. There's a little lip in the road. I just jumped it. Okay, that was Peter pulling. Okay. Peter, wow. Peter rides, used to ride with Mo, and then Peter lives in the woodlands. Peter's a fairly strong rider. You'll see him forcing the pace later on Spring Branch after we decided we're gonna wait. I don't think he heard it, so he just kept riding. And you see Paul follow them. That's kind of where the clip ends. So this road is going up. Now, if you look on the right, the name is there, And you can see where we are. We just passed the intersection on the left. I really love that. There's a bunch of little businesses, and there's a church coming up. That's what those little lines to the right, the little driveways. People have homes here. This is not a only industrial thing.
He's on the way now.
Yo, we caught up to him already. Yeah, that's what Paul said. He's in the way, so he pulled out of the way. I'm using the back of my legs here. I'm in a large gear, and I'm staying because the rhythm feels good. You see my heart rate has jumped at least 10 beats. The road went up. It wasn't just because of the pace. It was the grade and the pace. So the pace didn't back off. But my heart rate is saying that I'm in tempo. That's what my heart rate is saying. I'm in zone 3, creeping into the bottom of zone 4. And that's fine for this day. But once it gets to where it wants to get to the top of zone 4, I back off. I don't want to wreck my plan. I don't want to get myself so tired and I crawl home. You have to learn how to pace yourself. You see my cadence, 80 to 90s. That's what feels good, because right now we're riding at a pace that we're going to be holding for some time. We're riding above 40K, and you hear the wind, and the road, the gradient of the road is probably 1% or so. It says 0.2 on the right there. So we're going north, and if you look at the profile now, you can see we have left. We came down that hill. You can see where it dipped down that hill. Now we're going back up. I love that. That is sweet. So you can see where we are on the route. We are beginning the ascent into Montgomery, Texas. I don't know why I keep saying Magnolia. It's been a while. We haven't been to Magnolia because there's a lot of construction on the way that we used to get there. So we've been coming more north than west. But we are heading into our lumpy area, hills between maybe 3 to 6 or 7% at the steepest. So yeah, they're not 12% grades, but in the right gear, you can do the same effort. 400 and some watts right back there. That was a bit of a anaerobic effort. You can see that. You can see now in those other zones, it's shade. It's beginning to shade, meaning we're riding harder and harder, and I'm staying longer and longer in those non-aerobic zones. That's why I chose to put that display on the bottom. It lets you know this ride is hard. You just got to do the work. Find the gear you need and put your mind to the business of riding. When it's this hard and we're going up hills, I don't do too much shifting. I just find a gear that I can whip up when I need to and just sustain when I need to. That's why I go 85, 95. That's me. You gotta find what works for you. I spin more when the road is flat. I can raise the cadence, because raising too high a cadence on a long climb can put you in the red if you're not careful. We're gonna be turning soon. Gotta turn off the power. 2% right here, the gradient. And you can see we're turning off of Honea-Egypt Road into the Grand Lake Estates subdivision. We're gonna go the other way because that gate is locked. We don't have, nobody wants to stop, I guess. The driver sees us. So So Mike Barreras is going to go again.
Did that crap on Thursday.
So Lauren's going to tell me, I'm not chasing him. Like, that's fine. It's just ride. We're just going to keep riding. And Mike likes to go like that. He's testing himself or doing whatever. He's doing his efforts. He did the same thing on Thursday. That's what I was telling Laura. When she said she's not chasing him, I said, oh yeah, same thing he was doing on Thursday. She said, I'm not chasing him. I said, it's okay. So it's okay to let people go. You don't have to chase everything. So he does that for a bit, and then he'll back off the power, slip back in the group, you know. He's getting his efforts in, getting his body in shape. You have to pick the terrain that favors your body type. My body type is more of a flat to slightly rolling. You know, I'm not a hill climber. I'm not a mountain climber. I'm not built like that. I got too many big muscles to haul up those mountains. But when it comes to going very fast across a threshold area like a sprint line, yeah, I'm built like a sprinter. You know, so on a flat road, let's say on a flat road into the wind, I thrive in those conditions because that requires some strength. The little guys can't handle that. So I guess he's done with the interval. So we just roll by, just like the Peloton. You just roll by. You don't need to say nothing. You just roll. He sees us coming. He's going to slip in the back. So we're doing almost 24 miles an hour. So you can see all the shaded areas now. VO2 max is showing up. You know, it's just those little spurts. And my heart rate is staying in the 160s, bottom of zone 4 for me. It felt good to just stand and roll that gear. I'm probably in a 53.17 or something like that. Just, you know, just riding it. Or 16 probably. Laura pulls off. So resist the urge when somebody pulls off to accelerate viciously. Now, unless you're launching an attack. But if you're just taking your pull or your turn, as we call it in cycling, try to keep the speed steady so that person can slip back in. Because if you attack and let's say you break up the group or you pull 2 or 3 people along with you, you've lost the help of that rider. And the group here is already fairly small. It doesn't mean you shouldn't have your fun, but just know that when you do stuff like that, that person has no obligation to come back and pull. Because you change the pace, you better be able to stay up there for some time. So if you're doing a long ride and you guys are working together, then you ride with, that's what I mean, you ride together with those people. So what it means is like I pulled off quickly, I didn't want to stay up there too long. What it means is that like the pros do when they have the team time trials. So for example, like the Motorola team, I used to watch them a lot when they were in the Tour de France. Like Lance was the leader at one of the races, and he would take longer pulls during the team time trial because not every rider on the team was at the same strength in that time trial. So they needed to keep, I think, 5 riders crossing the line. So they would start with the whole team, and then people would work, and some of them would peel off because they had already discussed who was going to stick to be the last 5. So if Lance was to just go out there and bomb everybody, say do 35 miles an hour, he'd burn everybody else off, and then he'd lose time because if he gets to the finish line first without the other 4 guys, the clock is still running. So what they would do is, not just Lance, all the teams, the strongest riders would stay up there maybe 3 minutes or more, or whatever is longer at those efforts. You know, these guys are flying. So he'd take maybe stay 4 or 5 times as long so that the other riders would get a chance to recuperate after taking their turns. That's what I'm talking about. So if you're riding at 40 kilometers an hour and you stay there for 5 minutes, that's a very good workout. Why do 40 kilometers is 25 miles an hour? Why do 27 miles an hour for 2 seconds versus doing 25 miles an hour for 5 minutes? Which is better? I rest my case. That's just my logical mind. That's how I was coached. Because you're going to be strong. If you can do 25 miles an hour for 5 minutes, 27 miles an hour is not an effort. You probably be doing 30 or more for half a minute or however long you needed to do it. So don't worry so much about killing yourself. Ride at sustainable efforts. I was on the Thursday ride and I did something foolish. You get into you thinking you can do stuff based on your fitness because I've done it before in the past. Anyway, we're riding and one rider who I'm not going to name just lets a gap occur. They were not attacking, they were just riding. He lets a gap occur before you know it, there's 2 car lengths. Then he looks behind and he wasn't hurting. I don't know why they do that. It just makes no sense. There's some riders ride every day. They learn nothing. They just ride. And I was annoyed because he looked behind. So I literally said to him, you let the gap open, why are you looking behind? And the reason I said that is that's not his first, second, or third time doing it. It's probably more than his 10th time doing it. So I launched an attack from the back. I was third in line behind him. And I just kept changing gears up and sprinting to close the gap. I got within about probably, I would say maybe 3 feet of them. And I could not go any harder because I knew there was another long climb coming in some neighborhood because I knew the route where we're going. And so I decided I am not going to blow here. I'm going to go ahead and sit. And then Mo is there. So Mo pulled a bunch of people and he came up and they rode up. And then I slipped onto the back of the last part of the group. And we rode and eventually rode back into the group. They were just riding. They did not try to get away from us. He just left the gap and I was behind another rider who, I guess he didn't see the gap. By the time I saw the gap, it was already big. And then he looked behind. Oh, you looking behind for? And the reason I said that was he wasn't tired. It's just something they do. I don't know why they do that. It's like, I don't know if you guys have ever ridden in a ride where you'll be behind somebody to leave a group and then they go full gas to close the group. Well, if you're barely hanging on, it kills you. As opposed to the person just staying with that group, you would have probably lasted. And I hate that. So I was like, so it was all right. I mean, at the end of the world, just one of those things that happens. It's different if you're dying and you can't hang on that wheel. That's different. But I know, and I've seen it being done by this person countless of times. And even after that happened, he was able to ride back, sitting in the group that Mo pulled. So why didn't you just stay with them? That's like climbing a tree, marking the fruit, then going down and throwing stones at it. You're already there. It make no sense. This is where I decided I've been riding hard too long. You can see all the colors now are getting thicker. Because once this software, what I like about it that shows on here is once you're in the zone for a certain amount of time, it shades it. Because now you've basically been in there. So when you just get there, it puts a bar underneath. Your history is the shading. I did not plan to ride 375 to 499 today, but with the group, you got to do that. I figure, if you do a little bit, but right here, this is the 3rd hill and they're still pushing. So this is where I let them go and I backed off a little bit and then I will rejoin them after the gate at the end. Because this is just my 3rd week back after 2 months off. I've got to watch how I get back in. Otherwise, you get home and you're wiped out. You can't function the rest of the day. After this ride, I got to go to work. I work. So as the French said, tête à jambe. You got to use your head. I don't get to go take a nap after this ride. So everybody has a different goal in the group rides. That's what should be important to you. You're riding against you and yourself, not anyone else. So who cares? If you're fit, sit your butt up there, take longer pulls, go back like Mo does, pull the other riders back to the group, help them. That's what makes sense. because you will be working 2 to 3 times as hard. It will make you even faster because you will cover more ground. If you're going back and bringing people up, you're working harder instead of just riding off by yourself. You want to ride off by yourself, don't come to a group ride, just ride by yourself. Do your own thing. Or go to an open ride where you know nobody and nobody knows you. Do whatever, you know. So in about 2 to 3 weeks, I'll be sprinting up these hills because I know when my body's ready. Right now, I'm trying to condition my engine. And when I'm talking sprinting, really sprinting, Mike just rode that hill. He didn't sprint. He just rode it. He's in a big gear. At this point, we're about probably a couple of car lengths off the back of these guys. We can see them. We see the gate is open. We're going to roll through, and right after we crest the hill outside of the gate and go down, we'll ride back up and sit in the back. I'm sharing the pool with 2 riders back there, Tim and Mike S5. We're riding together. The 3 of us ended up riding together once we got to Spring Branch. We rode Bailey Grove together. Well, we rode until we got near Taco, then Mike went to Bailey Grove, but Tim and I rode Bailey Grove together, then Frank joined us. This is Frank on the right. His saddle is low. He said somebody his son borrowed a bike and lowered the saddle. I gave him a hard time. I was like, my bike is like underwear. Nobody borrows my bike. Like, that's like sacrilege. You can borrow my car all day long, not my bike. Nobody's changing anything on my bike. Forget that. You wouldn't lend somebody a teeth, I don't think. So that's the way I look at it. It's personal. My bike is a part of me.
We'll wait for Eldred.
We'll wait for Eldred.
Wait at the corner or what?
We can see them. I didn't know they were saying they were waiting for me. So I pulled Tim and what's his name back. I backed off the pace. They were pushing too hard. Peter up here pushing too. Peter been riding with Mo too long. Peter's on the right. This is Frank on the left. So Frank had to stop in Keenan after we get to the end of this to work on his saddle. So we waited a little bit, but we didn't see him. And so we kept going. We stayed off the back, and then he caught up with us when we got into Montgomery. We're right there. That's Michael is looking back. He was going to give me a wheel, but I really didn't need it. I was holding about, you can see my speed. I'm doing about almost 40K coming up on them. They've backed off. So if I had stayed with them and blown my engine, I wouldn't be able to ride 40K. My goal was to do the whole 100 and something kilometer. We're doing about 64 miles today, which is about a little over 100K. So I'm in the back of them right now because 34K, that's kind of what they're doing. So I rode at 40K to catch up to them. You have to know how to train. You can't just blow your engine. It's kind of like if you're a race car driver on the NASCAR circuit. You can't just let your engine stay in the red till it blows. You got to back off. That's why those boys be drafting. That's why they use aerodynamics and whatever. It takes a lot to be a driver on that circuit. You gotta know how those machines work. Otherwise, you will frustrate your crew. And you probably won't keep that job very long. It takes more to drive those cars than to just put your foot on the pedal. You know, you gotta protect that engine. Push it too much. That's Loretta. El Pirata. I call Laura El Pirata, the pirate. Because when she's climbing, she'll get in the drops kind of like Pantani sometimes. And she lowers her body as the road goes up. You cut Laura and a bicycle comes out of her veins. She loves cycling with a passion. We need more people like Laura. Laura rides more than she drives. Similar to me. My car sits around. I always keep them on trickle chargers unless my wife borrows it or something. I don't drive much. I don't like driving that much. I hate sitting in a car for hours. Much rather be on a bike. So my biggest problem, I have 2 old cars. Well, 1 old car now, but I keep it on I think it's called a Noki, some kind of charger I got off of Amazon. It's a smart charger. What trickle charges and goes to sleep. You know, it just keeps it topped up, so I can get in it after a month and start it up with no problems. My biggest problem is making sure there's enough air in the tires. You know, so I always check them every month. I have a compressor. If you don't do that and the car sits a lot, it's not good for it. And you know, once a year you got to change your fluids and stuff. Because I don't do the mileage, I do it by time. Change the oil once a year. I think coolant every couple of years. I think brake fluid once a year because it's hygroscopic. It gets water in there. Other than that, it's not. You know, I don't drive much. I don't have too much maintenance to deal with. And most of the driving I do is short trips. I really would need like a smart car or something like that, or an electric car maybe. But now they're charging people $200 a year to register electric cars because they say that they're not participating in the tax base because they're not buying gasoline. You know, our gasoline is heavily taxed. So we're in the back of the group. We're here now. We're gonna get to Keenan. This is Keenan. We're gonna hit. This is Keenan Cutoff Road. We're gonna go left.
Everybody back?
Yes, everybody's here.
Yeah. Fine.
The cyclists always ask everybody's back. Then they do the very thing that caused everybody to not be together. And the thing about this ride is, I don't want to restrain those who want to go faster. If you're fit, and you know, that's why you come out to have fun. That's your fun. And those who want to go with you will go. As we get more people, we can split up. And then the people who are struggling can hang on to you for as long as they choose to, then drift back to Group B. And then there are some days where the fast riders just don't want to go fast. Then they can ride with Group B or whatever. But that's my goal, to have multiple people that will be willing to nurse the slower groups from time to time if they're in the mood, you know. But we got to look out for the new faces. So right here on Keenan, we end up losing a couple of riders. So by the time we get to 149, you'll see me right up to the front and tell the guy pulling at the front, I think it will be Michael at that point, that we need to regroup after the turn. And why that is important is this is not an open ride. It's a ride where we have a board, we invite people. You know, it's more. You know, it's a friendly ride, and so we want to make sure everybody's accounted for. And then sometimes people will say, don't wait. That's okay. To say don't wait, that's cool. You keep rolling. But you can't just ride off and act like nothing's wrong. I mean, I guess you could, but what would end up happening is it would kill your group eventually, because if you invited me to come to dinner and you left before the meal was done, that doesn't make me want to join you for dinner the next time, or you did something else that was not cool. You know, that's what I mean. So you at least want to check they're okay, they're with somebody, whatever. That's the whole point of the regrouping. And we regroup, and then people say, hey, you know what? You guys are going too fast. We're going to just do our own thing. Or sometimes they will let us know, you keep going, and we're going to split. And that's okay, too, but you got to at least check. That's the key. Okay, see, not the whole group is going to do that. The whole group is not required, but there should be at least one or two people that's looking out. And, you know, it's in my interest to look out for those kind of things, because that's the whole point of all the work we've done to try to grow our own group, so that we have some kind of consistent training apparatus, so to speak. There will be days when I will stay with the front group, and there will be times when I won't, you know, even when I'm in shape. That's just the way it depends on who's showing up and how many new people are there, you know, that kind of stuff. Because not everybody downloads the map and that kind of stuff. I want people to keep coming back. That's what I'm looking for. Because you can't just have three to five nucleus of cyclists and expect things to blossom. We need new faces, we need new blood. So right here, I know it's hard. I've chosen here to work hard on this stretch. I like this stretch. It's hard. It has a nice shoulder. It's relatively quiet. I come out on this road all the time intentionally because for quite a bit of the time it's a drag, like right here. We're going up. It says 2.2. Okay, we're just, and then the wind's blowing. It's exposed, so you work hard on this road. In both directions, it's pretty good, but I think it's harder this way. I think you climb longer. It's hard to say. I believe I'm right on Paul's wheel or something. I'm just riding, and then I know that there are a couple of riders that were with me have fallen off the pace. I think Mike S5 stayed because the other rider fell off the pace. So when we turn, I will ride up to the leader, tell him, hey, we're gonna regroup after we turn off the spring brakes. There's a quiet road there. That's where you want to regroup. Quiet road. You don't want to do it on a major highway like 149 with that tiny shoulder. So this way everybody gets their work here. We regroup. We start to go. If we split again, fine. We can regroup at Taco or somewhere else. That was the plan anyway. But when some people regroup, they ride back to the group so hard that you drop the very people you waited for. If you're going to wait for somebody, you got to change what you've been doing. Otherwise, don't wait. Then you just say, okay, you okay? Do you know your way? Because we're going to go. You can do that too. But there's no point in waiting for people, then dropping them. That doesn't make you a champion racer. Because this person is just not choosing to or not in condition to do that, or that's just not their thing. This is not a racing group. It's a cycling group. All riders are welcome. So don't come over here thinking that, I'm going to show off my fitness. Nobody cares. Go to a USCF race. I may have said that earlier. Go there and show off your fitness. Pay your fee and do whatever you want. Nobody cares. So, and not everybody's going to be cognizant of your intent of your group if you're the group leader or whatever. So you got to be aware of that and let them do their thing. Because I want them to keep coming back too. I don't want to run them off. Because there will be days where I'll sit on their wheel and see how long they can do that for. If I'm in the mood or I have to level. That's the whole reason we ride, to get better. So I like this. See Laura doing good work at the front. See how low Michael's getting. If you don't get low behind Laura, you're not going to get much of a draft. She stays very aerodynamic and very smooth. You see how smooth Michael is? That's what happens when you train yourself, because cycling is not a natural motion. You have to train the neuromuscular pathways between your brain. That's why they be neuromuscular. Your muscle and your brain got to work together. You're teaching your body. We're riding at almost 25 miles an hour, and it's not wind aided. But because I'm in the draft, I'm staying right at the top of zone 2. This pace in this condition, I could do for the whole ride because it's perfect with what my plan was for today. That's me. That's my plan. Yeah, you got to go outside your plan to stay with a group in certain spots, but not for 20 miles. I mean, these guys was just pushing for too long. I'm like, enough already. And this is so when you go to your rides, you can decide. So somebody falling off the pace, does that mean that, oh, wow, I'm really strong? You don't know why they chose to let you go. They're not in the mood, or they're not fit, or they don't want to do it. You ain't paying them. Why should they go hard? Oh, man. This is 149. We are in Keenan, Texas. You blink, you miss it. We're going to turn right. It's a busy highway, so we use the narrow shoulder once we get on there. Laura checked for her car. That's why she's sitting out there. She's done pulling. She wants you to come through. In about maybe 500 meters, I'm going to, Paul thanked her for the pull. In about a few hundred meters, I'm going to ride up. So if you look at my power, right now it says 0. I'm just sitting because this is a slight descent. Now you see my watts going up. I'm riding up from the back. I'm gonna come up to here. Right there. I told him that we're gonna regroup at the corner after we turn left on the Spring Branch. Not everybody heard that. I know Paul heard it. And I think some people will ask, you hear them ask if we're regrouping. Now what's gonna happen is, there are a couple of riders who either chose not to or did not know we're regrouping. They just keep riding. And so Paul kind of goes with them, just sitting on their wheel. But I want to regroup because I know there are 2 riders off the pace. And one of them is new. And I'm more interested in the new faces. So he sprints up the hill. Paul sprints with him. This is, I think, Javier. We're going to be turning in about probably 200 meters. So at this point, I'm aware that we have 2 riders missing. Frank and a guy named Tim are not with us. That's because I look back. That's why you see my speeds are low. I look back a little bit. Okay, so they're not here. So we're going to turn. So Michael stops here because he knows. This guy, I don't think he's aware of it. He just keeps riding. Now Peter's going to join him. And it's going to happen every time you announce a regrouping. Not everybody would necessarily stop. Some people may just spin down the road. Paul's just kind of rolling. You see he's not even pedaling. I'm not pedaling either. I'm actually slowing down. I'm going to stop at that corner with Michael. At this point, I see them drifting, but a lot of times it happens where they'll just kind of soft pedal down the road, chat, eat, whatever, you know, or maybe take a nature break while we're doing. I figured that something like that was going on, but I was more interested in what was going on with those other guys. We could not see Frank at all, and that's always a concern. Frank is a fairly fit rider. This is Peter who's going to come around Paul. Paul's just going to sit on his wheel. So now they're riding here. That's my speed you're seeing, not them, because we're back at the corner. They've left at the corner. This is a descent. So we roll back. I'm looking for those guys. I roll back to 149, looking for them, and then I only see Tim. And so, you know, the team said, oh, yeah, Frank has a problem with his saddle. Frank stopped to raise his saddle. You know, I mentioned something about it earlier. So if you're going to grow your group successfully, you got to have at least one person or yourself, if you're the group leader or team leader, look out for riders. Make people feel welcome. Otherwise, it just won't be sustainable. You will end up riding with the same little 3 to 5 riders that you know really well, and nobody new will want to keep coming around. They won't feel comfortable. They won't feel welcome or otherwise. So that's how you grow your group. So these guys rode off. We're back there. You see my speed 32K. We're coming, riding up to them. Michael, Tim. There are 2 Michaels actually, Mike S5 and Mike Bradbury. They're with us. Mike Bradbury is pulling us back to these guys. We can see them in the distance. But he just went so hard that we ended up losing one of the riders by the time we got to these guys again. So you got to be cognizant of those kind of things. You know, sometimes you got to check that ego at the door when you leave home. If you're the group rider and you have bigger aspirations for your group. To that effect, remember, get your K's in and keep every doctor fired